Hey, and welcome back to Miss Kitty's Wild West Adventures. Today, I'll be telling you about a beautiful brunette shot down just days before her 41st birthday. 3 suspects were questioned in the death of Belle Starr, but no one was ever charged. Today, we'll be reviewing those 3 suspects and a bonus one, so stay tuned and maybe you can help solve a mystery of who killed Belle Starr. Belle Starr was born Myra Maybelle Shirley on February 5, 1848. Her father was a very affluent Missouri hotel owner, and her mother was a member of the infamous Hatfield family, you know, from the Hatfield-McCoy feud. In 1866, Belle married her high school sweetheart, Jim Reed, and together they had 2 children, a daughter that they named Pearl, and a son, which they named Edwin, but later became known as Eddie. Sadly, Jim died in a shootout in 1874, and Belle went on to marry Bruce Younger. Yes, from another infamous family, the Younger family. But this marriage only lasted about 3 weeks. She then went on to marry Sam Starr, and it turned out she and Sam had something in common. They both shared a hobby. Can you guess what it was? Put a comment down below if you can. I'll wait. That hobby was horse thieving. And in 1882, they were both arrested and sentenced to jail for horse thieving. Belle ended up serving 9 months in a workhouse, and it did the trick for her. She was reformed and wanted nothing else to do with any kind of criminal elements. Well, that worked out okay because Sam, her husband, ended up dying in another gunfight at a Christmas party later that year. So, in order to maintain her status, she ended up marrying her late husband's younger brother, Jim July Starr. He was 15 years her junior. And like his brother before him, he was also into horse thieving, something that Belle wanted no part in. This brings us to February 3rd, 1889. Belle was riding home on her favorite horse when suddenly, from behind, she was shot with a shotgun. The shell ripped through her back and her neck, and she obviously fell off the horse. Another fired into her face while she was lying down and hit her in the face and in the shoulder. Several people were questioned in her death. Let's talk about the 3 main ones, and then I'm going to add in an additional one. The first person police questioned was Edgar Watson, who was a sharecropper and a neighbor of Belle Starr. Apparently, he was wanted in Florida on a murder charge, and Belle, who didn't want any association with criminal element, was threatening to report him to authorities. He was questioned, but later it turned out there was no warrant out for his arrest, so there really was no motive for him to take out Belle. Then a mutual acquaintance came forward and said that her husband, Jim July, had offered him $200 to kill his wife. So apparently, Jim July had been arrested once again for horse thieving, and Belle was going to come and bail him out and pay for an attorney to represent him. But then at the last minute decided no, she was done with the criminal element and backed out. And apparently she had been on her way home from telling Jim this at the time of her death. So apparently Jim July went up to this mutual friend and offered him $200 to take out his wife. And when the friend said no, Jim said reportedly, "That's okay, I'll take care of it myself. Can I borrow a shotgun?" So the friend lent him a shotgun, and when the police questioned him and looked at the shotgun, they decided, yes, it had been recently fired. Now our option 3, our third suspect, was none other than Belle's son, Eddie. So apparently Eddie also had run-ins with the law, and Belle, being the reformed criminal she was, beat him when she found out what he had been doing. Beat him so bad, in fact, that he held a grudge against his mother, and perhaps he was the one that took out his mother. So we have a neighbor sharecropper, we have a husband, and we have a son. All had possible motive, but nothing concrete and proof to arrest. And then finally, years and years later, a man comes in to a newspaper office and claims he's got a story. Apparently, when this man was about 12 years old, he went to visit his grandmother in Oklahoma. And his grandmother, who was elderly at the time, pulled him and his aunt aside and sat them down. She was very sick, almost deathbed, and she said, "I have a story to tell you. I have to get something off my chest." And the story she told was that it had been her that had killed Belle Starr. Apparently, this woman had hired this next-door neighbor named Jim to come and tend her farm and help her out in the garden, and no one else liked this neighbor, and she was getting threats from everyone else in the neighborhood not to hire him. So she went out one day and she saw this person approaching her house. It was dark, and she suspected it was one of these neighbors who had given her death threats. So she pulled out her shotgun and she shot the horse rider dead. She went home, and later that day they came knocking and told her that her neighbor, Belle Starr, had been found dead on the roadway. So she went to her deathbed thinking that she in fact had been the one to kill Belle Starr. So I ask you, my loyal viewers, who do you think killed Belle Starr? Was it her neighbor, her son, her husband, or her other neighbor? Leave a comment down below and let me know who killed Belle Starr. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and tell your friends. In the meantime, I'll catch you on down the trail.